I'm Mitzi Lovell, and this is my story of sin, shame, and finally redemption. For many years after being saved, and with your salvation, you accept the gift of Christ. After that, I wasn't able to accept the gift of forgiveness. Even though I knew Jesus had bled and died on the cross, I couldn't accept the fact that my sins were forgiven. And why did Satan have me in his grasp, being able to manipulate me with the fact that saying things like I wasn't any good, or I would never measure up, or people, if they really knew what I was or what I had done, that they would rebuke me. And it's because of the fact that I knew I was guilty of being a liar, being a thief, being an adulterer, and even being a murderer. I had 2 abortions by the time I was a little over 17. How does somebody do something like that? Number one, I think it's believing the lie that it's just a mass of cells and it's a woman's choice and it really isn't a baby. And I believed all those lies. And nobody knew about this except for the baby's father. I totally hid it from everybody and tried to hide it from myself even. And you kind of stow it back in a box, trying to never open up that box again. So for decades, I lived with that and lived with Satan kind of needling me on a regular basis about my sin. Well, God began working in my life and told me that I needed to come clean. So what did that mean to me? That meant that I had to tell 2 teenage children that I was sexually active and that I was guilty of 2 abortions. And when they went to heaven, that they would meet a half-brother and a half-sister that they knew nothing about. Talk about doing something hard is telling your teenage children who you don't want to be involved in sex to tell them that not only did you do it, but you had 2 abortions because of it. I also had to tell my folks that I had had 2 abortions when I was young. So needless to say, this was hard on me. I got involved in Gainesville Care Center, which has become Choices. I did a post-abortion class. I was a volunteer there for quite some time. And with that post-abortion class, it helped me to unlayer all of that pain and that hurt and shine the light of Christ on that pain and those feelings, those horrible things that I've kept hidden all this time. And with that, it was able to help me realize that Jesus did die on the cross for me, and he would have done it if it were me and me alone while I was still wallowing in the sin itself. Jesus gives us our salvation, but it's a gift and we have to receive it. Jesus also gives us forgiveness, but it's a gift and we have to receive it as well. And a lot of you may be struggling with something. 7 out of 10 women who have an abortion are in the church. So all of us have hurts, hang-ups, and habits. We all have skeletons in our closets. There are things that can help you. There are people here who may have a mask on, you may think, but have had real tragedies happen in their lives and have been able to come past it. Satan wants to keep you on the bench. He wants to keep you on the sidelines. Satan cannot take your salvation away, but he can take your testimony away. And if he's got you kind of in the wilderness of your sin where you're afraid to admit it to yourself and to admit it to others. So your salvation is a gift. Your forgiveness is a gift. You have to do a lot of work. That course was horrible for me because I was shining light on emotions and feelings that I really didn't even want to admit that I had. So it can be the hardest work you'll ever do, but it'll be the best work that you've ever done. During worship time at church, you will often see tears in my eyes. To me, I kind of think of them as tears of grace. I know exactly how far he has brought me from. I feel like I've been redeemed from everything. I've been redeemed from the sin. I've been redeemed from the shame. I know I've been forgiven. I know how great and vast God's love is for me. And I know he desires that for everybody. And reading Ephesians 6, talking about the armor of God, one of the things that He says, above all, the shield of faith that will dispel all fiery darts of the evil one. We all need the shield of faith to dispel the darts because Satan is active. He's active every day. He's wanting to have Christians not be willing to tell their story. And we've got to put the mask down. We've got to be real. And we've got to tell that we're all sinners who have fallen short of the glory of God. We're all the same. As Christians, we like to kind of categorize sin and say one's worse than another, and that's really not true. All sin is the same. We all have a story, and it can all be used by God, and He can take your ashes and your worst sin and your worst shame and turn it into the glory of God.